Hello, everyone. This is Heather with Magnificent Mommas and Magnificent Authors podcast. We are joined here today with TyChelle Coleman. Ty, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, my name is TyChelle Coleman. I'm from Overland Park, Kansas. I just turned 30 and then just started getting into writing probably about 2018 or so.
Congrats. I know
Thank
Overland Park,
you.
actually. I used to go to high school in Kansas City, Missouri, so that is
Oh
definitely a
yeah,
town I recognize.
that's
Yeah.
so I don't know too much about Missouri, but I know that there are some pretty decent schools depending on the area that you may be in.
Yeah, I was in a decent area, so I enjoyed it. It was one of the best parts of my life. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your books?
So I'm currently working on part two of One Night of Comfort. So that's the one I recently just released in February. This one I really was just coming up with stuff. It's not really based on anything. It's just about like Damon and Sapphire. Sapphire is basically after being heartbroken, she's been lonely, like longing for a family. So she just happens to kind of run into Damon, who was already married, but he didn't have any kids. But there was like going issues going on with his wife. So that's how I came up with like with the One Night of Comfort. Like in a way, I didn't want them to sleep together, but just like a chance encounter, just to kind of remind them and other people that read the book that sometimes in life, like you have those relationship struggles, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that you can't connect back with your partner. Sometimes it takes somebody else to see you and see what you're going through in order to kind of get you to shift focus. And then I did publish another book, He Never Belonged to Me, back in 2018, which is when I originally came up with that I wanted to write. Like I wanted to write since I was a kid, but actually just putting it out there was something that I'd never thought to do until
Excuse me.
2018. And so that book was called He Never Belonged to Me. And so that was kind of based on true events of like dealing with like heartbreak and wanting something or somebody so bad that you could never really grasp them. Like you got bits and pieces of that person, but they were never fully yours. So that's how that one came about. And then I'm working on a few other ones that I need to finish that are almost done. But for now, I
Nice.
just have those two out.
And you write romance fantasy, right?
I don't like to call it reality because I feel like a fantasy romance is
Romance.
yeah, it's
Maybe I
just
was thinking of somebody else.
probably, but it's all right. But I like to deal with like reality romance.
Okay.
Fantasy, I like fantasy because you get lost in it. Everybody has a good ending. You know, it's a good time.
Yeah.
But I feel like reality romance for me, it goes into like real life situations that you deal with in relationships. So
That's
sometimes you
awesome.
might
And
have a happy ending, sometimes you might not.
so is your family and friends supportive of your writing career?
My friends are a couple family members are. I'm not too close to like all of them, but the
Yeah.
ones that I am close to, yeah, they're very supportive.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about some of your characters in your books without
So
spoilers?
Sapphire, oh, I'm a try. So Sapphire, she's successful like in her own right. She's 28. She is a marriage counselor. She owns her own practice. So she's been single maybe about a year and a half or so, which she was content with, of course. Um, but after a while, I feel like even with anybody, after a while, you start longing for a partner,
Hmm.
and that's where she is now. She's longing for a partner. She's longing for that family. She owns her house, and she's like wanting to come home to kids, just to
Yeah.
hear the noise and the mama and the husband. So that's where she is in
Oh,
her life. And Damon, he's successful. He thought that he had it all, the wife, the job, the career. And he doesn't have kids. He's 32. But after his wife suggest like they have like a free weekend pass because she doesn't want to be a wife right now, you know. So
Yeah.
it kind of threw him for a loop. So he's never felt like the emotions that he's experiencing right now. And so it's just kind of all too much for him, you know. So he ends up at a hotel without, you know, this kind of like giving away too much, but he does
No,
end
no.
up at like one of his favorite hotels, and then you know he ends up bumping into Sapphire at this all white event. So
Nice. Interesting.
and it just goes from there.
Yeah.
I did it like on a slow build. I read a lot of books that like I feel like they as soon as they start off they just throw you in there, you know.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of did mine on a slow build to where I wanted my reader to kind of get to know the characters a little bit. Like I didn't want
Yeah.
them to just start reading a book and oh, chapter two, or they see, you know, they meet each other, and
Yeah.
I didn't want it like that. So even in a book, they just kind of like get to know the characters a little bit. In Damon chapters, you can see flashbacks of him and his wife. His wife's name is Myra. So you can see that they're, you know, communicating and talking. So you can kind of see how she introduced them to have like the free weekend pass in their marriage. And
Yeah.
Gabrielle is in there, but we call her Gabby. So that's Sapphire's best friend. And I'm actually going to do a spin-off with Gabrielle and Ocean because while they were out at the All White event, Gabrielle met somebody named Ocean. So I'm going to do a spinoff about them. And then in part
Nice.
two, Myra is going to have a voice. So I gave Myra a voice in part two of One Night of Comfort, just so the readers can kind of get like an understanding of her side of things and why she asked for the weekend pass. Because I know a couple of my readers messaged me and was like, "Oh, why didn't Myra say anything?" You know, in the first book, and I'm like, "Well, it wasn't about her. You know,
Yeah.
it was not about her. It was just an introduction of Sapphire and Damon." So
Yeah.
I'm excited. Part two, though.
Um,
Part two
what
is.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I was excited about part two. It's gonna be a roller coaster ride.
It sounds good. What would you say the spicy romance like? Would you say it's like closed door, open door, you know?
Mm, so there's not one as far as like a scene, as far as like a sex scene or anything or a kissing
Mhm.
scene, because at the end of the day, he's still married, you know. So for like the romance part, I kind of did it to where, you know, how we've all been in that space of, you know, feeling down or lonely or
Yeah.
heartbroken, and you just need somebody to comfort you, you know. And so that's what they did. They comforted each other. They listened to each other. I feel like romance can be like a wide range of things, and so they just found solace in one of each other. So it's kind of based off that. Now there might be like a scene in, you know, part two, but as far as like a steamy type of sex scene or anything like that in part one, there isn't one.
That's nice. What age range would you say your book would appeal to?
Um, I just probably labeled it like as 18 and older. Not saying that teenagers can't
Mhm.
experience it as well, but since it's more about them
Adult
like, okay,
experience.
yeah, you're established now. Now you want your family. You know, you've done what you've done. You went to college. You had your fun. So now it's like you want to establish that family dynamic in your life now. So I would target it more towards adult, like instead of
Yeah.
like a younger
Younger
generation.
generation. Yeah.
Hmm.
That makes sense. So, do you have a favorite character that you've wrote about so far?
In
I
this
mean,
book,
they're all your babies, obviously, but
I don't know, because Myra works my nerves. Now that I'm working like part two, Myra just, it's crazy. People like, how do you disassociate with your characters? I'm like, I don't know. It's like a reader. I'm from the reader's point of view, and it's like I
Yeah.
love her, but I hate her at the same time because, like, girl, you have a good husband and you are ruining it. But I feel like so far, I don't know. I love Sapphire and I love Gabby. I love those two, and I love Damon too because he's like a great man. Like if you sat and like read the book, he's really a great man. He's fighting for his marriage, and he
Mhm.
didn't want to do anything to jeopardize that, even though he had the free pass. He didn't want to jeopardize that. He's like, you know what? I'm still married at the end of the day, So Damon is up there too. So those are my top three right now.
Yeah. Do you think if like your main characters had social media, what type of posts do you think they'd put up?
Ooh, that is good. I don't, I don't think Sapphire would put too much because she has her own business with her marriage counseling and stuff like that. So I don't think she would be putting up anything that's like wild. I feel like she would be more so putting up probably like selfies, like conservative type. I feel like
Yeah.
Sapphire would be. Because Sapphire is more on the softer side, but she has a side of her that Gabrielle sees that she can be wild if she needs to. Um, Damon, I don't know what type of post Damon was. That is interesting. I feel like he can go either or. I feel like he would be like a jokester, kind of,
Mhm.
because he has like a different side of him too when he's like hanging out with his best friend Josh. So I feel like he can be probably a jokester. Myra, I feel like she would just tell her whole business on, on social media. Myra would definitely tell the world her business.
We all have a friend like that.
Yes, she's it. She is definitely it.
That's funny. If you could bring any of your characters to life and like hang out for a day, who would it be and what would you do?
I probably would bring Gabrielle to life only because I feel like even in here because she gets like a few, dialogue scenes with Sapphire and like I said, I've been writing a spin-off with her and Ocean. I feel like I can kind of relate to her a little bit as far as like the closed offness. You know how you're shy, you're closed off, but you
Mhm.
just wanted that love, and
Yeah,
she's one of the characters that can adapt to any situation and anybody. So whoever she meets, she can just adapt to her, her situation or her scenery, wherever she is. I would
definitely.
definitely bring Gabby to life.
What kind of advice do you give like new authors or would you give an aspiring author?
Um, so right now, like when I get those messages about people when they tell me that they haven't written before or they want to write, I just kind of ask them, like, what are you writing for and who are you writing for? I feel like those
Mhm.
are very important questions because anybody can write, you can
Yeah.
just write if that's what you want to do, but are you going to be passionate about it? Are your readers going to feel it? I would never discourage somebody from writing. So those are the two things I ask them. And then when they tell me the reason why, I just kind of tell them to just, write down your characters or write down the plot or whatever it is that's in your head that you see for your book, or whatever it is, your biography, whatever it is. Just kind of just get everything out and on paper.
Yeah.
And that's like the first step. And I try to tell them not to overwhelm themselves because I know a lot of people they'll message me and go like, well, what about this and what about that? And I'm like, well, that will come later. Right
Yep.
now you want to get everything, all of your ideas out on paper so you can sort through them, because you don't need to be worrying about where you want to publish. You don't need to be worried about a book cover right now. You don't need to be worried about an editor right now,
Nope,
because you're
just
in the
right.
beginning stages. So you just need to get everything out on paper and then just sort through it.
That's
So,
awesome. That's some really good advice. Do you
yeah.
outline when you're writing or do you just write like without an outline?
I do both. So it really depends on like I said, I'm working on One Night of Comfort. I'm working on Until You Came Along, and I'm working on one called Dear Diary, Tales of a Broken Heart.
Hmm.
So it depends on which one, but I outlined it Dear Diary, Tales of a Broken Heart, because that one is following like the 5 stages of grief, but it's like heartbreak addiction.
Hmm.
And so that one I did outline, but the other ones I just kind of just I see characters in my head, I see words, and I just have to get it out.
Oh, I get that
So and then
completely.
then I'll go back and probably outline it, or just put down the basics like, okay, my character is such and such age, they're from here, this is what they want to do, this is what they're learning for. But other than that, I just have to get it out.
I get it completely. I feel like I don't really outline. Sometimes I'll go back and
Hmm.
take notes and stuff, but I uh I definitely, I see it in my head beforehand and then I go back and I write it all out, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely understand. And sometimes those make for the best stories, even before you go back and edit it or
Yeah,
rewrite. Yeah.
definitely. So we've kind of gone over our time just a little bit, but do you have
Okay.
anything else you want to add? When we do post this, we will post links to your book and socials and whatnot, so everyone can
Hmm.
check it out.
I don't think I have anything to add. I just, if anybody is listening that wants to write or thinking about getting into it, I just want to tell them to just go for it. Build your characters, build your plot. If you feel like you need to write down and outline everything, then just go for it. Or if you have
Yeah.
a book that's already done and you don't know if you want to traditionally publish, just research. And if you want to self-publish, either way, somebody's going to read your book.
Yeah,
Even if you get no sales or you get leads here and there, like I mainly do my stuff on Amazon, but the next one I'm going to expand to Ingram Spark or whatever, so it can be like
yeah,
a bigger, a wider distance. I cannot
yeah,
talk. Yeah,
definitely.
but yeah, I just just go for it. Whatever you want to do in life, even if it's not that, just go for it.
That is
Just
such
do it.
positivity. It has been
Just
awesome
do it.
having you on here today. Like, you're just so full of life and so positive. It's been wonderful.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time out and speaking with me. I enjoyed speaking with you also. So thank you
Awesome.
for
Thank you
allowing
so
me to be on your podcast.
And I want to thank everyone for liking and subscribing and following, and make sure to check out TyChelle's romance novels.